a series on how to have a more successful new year. And this is my final message on the topic, part 8 today, about successful people don't play fair. Last week we learned that successful people learn to hate well, that there are things in life that won't change until we hate the way they are, and that people that are in complacency haven't developed enough hate for the status quo. People that are not growing and developing spiritually have not grown to hate not growing and developing. So we don't hate people, but we can hate injustice. We can hate evil. That there are two sides of the coin. Love is on one side, hate is on the other side. Just like on the mountain, the children of Israel, some went on the one mountain and spoke the blessing. The others went on the other mountain and spoke the curse. The walk involves both of them. That there are consequences to our behavior in life, and sometimes we have to have our own way enough to hate it and say, I'm not going to live like this. I'm going to change. So it's kind of the positive understanding of how we can take hate and do good with it. I think all that it takes for the wicked to rule is for the righteous to hate nothing, because that's what motivates us. Hate is like one force on the front of the ship, and love is on the back of the ship, and hate moves us away from the things that are not right, that are evil, that are wicked, that are ungodly. That's about all I'm going to say because we're short on time this morning. And today I want to talk about my first point, that we've all learned to play fair. And that may be the very thing that's keeping us from being successful. Well, Pastor, it's good to be fair. You know what I'm talking about. You've heard people say marriage is a 50-50 proposition. Well, I'm here to tell you we're married 44 years, and we had never made it here if it was 50-50. It has to be 100-100. Well, what do you mean? Well, I'm going to treat my wife well whether she treats me well or not. She's going to treat me well whether I treat her well or not, and hopefully one of us will do the right thing when trouble comes, instead of returning anger for anger, insult for insult. You know, you've heard it. You mess with me, and I'm going to mess right back with you. This one businessman that was going to go into business with another guy, and they made all the arrangements for this to happen. And when they sat down to close on the deal, the guy that was going to be his new partner said, I just want you to know, if you treat me well, I will treat you well. And if you don't, then I won't. And, you know, I believe that it needs to be fair. So the guy canceled the deal. He said to him, you know, who wants to be in business where when you have a problem, you beat each other up over it instead of working together to fix it? In the same way in marriage, it's the same way in personal relationships. If you have a significant other or you have close friends, you are not there to keep each other in check by threatening each other. You're there to help each other improve your relationship. That's why it should be 100-100. This doctrine or belief is probably one of the most destructive beliefs in relationships, and yet subliminally we all have learned it. Has anyone besides me discovered that all good people at times do the wrong thing? Have you noticed that? So we are setting up expectations that don't fit the reality of humanity. People mess up. Anyone besides me, you've messed up a time or two in the last hour, day, month, week? My Bible says all have sinned and all have messed up and come short of the glory of God. The whole idea behind fairness is anti-Christianity, because we don't get what's fair. We get what Jesus gave us. While we were yet sinners, he died for us. Thank God he didn't do the fair thing. We'd all bust hell wide open. I don't want fair. I want better. Maybe it started when you were a child and you and your brother or sister were unhappy about something and your brother whacked you. So you whacked him back, or your sister whacked you. You whacked him back, and then your mom said, quit fighting. Well, he hit me first. She hit me first. Like, if they hit me, then it's only fair that I hit them back. And I think nations have been fighting over that one for a long time. You felt justified for hitting your sibling because they hit you. That's the fairness doctrine. That's not fair. I'm not going to do good to you anymore. That's what we're saying. In fact, I'm going to give you exactly what you've given me. It's only fair. Then you'll know how it feels. Didn't we learn? Anyone besides me? I learned that real early on. All it takes is in a relationship to sour is for one not to perform the way it's supposed to, and here we go. We go right into the crazy cycle. Then the other one does the same, and it creates a dependency upon others. I am dependent on being good by being treated good. If you treat me good, then I will behave good. If you are mature with me, I will be mature with you. And so now I'm dependent upon being good and mature. I am depending upon others being good and mature. It's not something I possess on my own. It's something other people let me have or don't let me have. They must be good so that I can be good. They must be loving so that I can be loving. They must be mature so that I can be mature. It just doesn't work that way. It's the philosophy of the masses. We all grew up being told to be fair, didn't we? I hate it. I cringe every time I hear a politician talk about everybody needs a fair shot at life. We don't need fair. We need better than fair. It ought to be when you mess up, you have a chance to be redeemed. You have a chance for a better life. We love people who are being fair, and we don't love them and act loving to them if they're not. We love when we're being loved. Jesus spoke about this. You know, you spit on me, I'm going to spit on you twice. Living by the fairness doctrine, you'll destroy all the relationships in your family, in your community, and in your business. When you give people what they deserve, you'll never improve your relationship. You will only continue in that cycle of destruction. Well, it's only fair. You'll be passed over for promotions because of the enemies that you develop, punishing those who didn't do what they were supposed to, that you were giving them what they deserve. If you give bad for bad, guess what? The law of sowing and reaping. All you can get back is bad. God is not mocked. Whatever a man sows, that shall he also reap. We reap what we sow. What goes around comes around. If one of the greatest contributors, I'd say, to divorce is that someone had made up their mind they're going to do good even though they're not treated good, and that's because that's the way they are. People don't get what they give me. People get what I have. You know, it's kind of like playing tennis. You insult me, I insult you. You hit me, I hit you. You put me down, I put you down. Like a tennis game. Sometimes I've been a marriage counselor, and I'm like going back and forth and back, and I'm thinking, is anybody going to do anything to change this, or are they just going to keep the volley going? After a while, it's like they're on that tennis court of conflict back and forth, and then long before they're in a divorce court. One court leads to another. All it takes to drag down a relationship is for one person to fail. Did we forget that when you get married, it's for better or for worse? It's not for better, I'll return better. It's for better or for worse. And anybody here know anyone that never fails? I want you to know, Denise has a really good track record of not failing, but she still fails. I know it's hard to believe, but she really does fail on a rare occasion. But no matter how good you are, no matter how mature you are, no matter how much you have or don't have, everyone fails. No matter how hard we try, we fail at times. And in the fairness doctrine, real people need not apply. If we're going to be fair, then you can't be real. And where does that go? Denial. We give tit for tat and relationships decline. If not for the moment, they fail completely. For example, if one person's a little withdrawn, the other one begins to feel abandoned, and what do? They give them the silent treatment. Oh, you reject me? Well, I reject you. If one person is a little sarcastic, the other one comes back with sarcasm or passive aggression. If one person gets a little angry, the other one snaps back. Oh, it sounds familiar, doesn't it? And don't think I'm just talking about marriage. I'm talking about all relationships, mom and son and daughter and dad and son and daughter. And all of our relationships, we've learned this fairness doctrine, and it's what's killing us. Successful people move beyond being fair. They don't just act like nothing happened. That's not what I'm saying. They don't become doormats. That's the first thing that people will tell. Well, I don't want to be someone a doormat. If I return good for bad, then I'm showing approval to it. No, you're showing your character. You're not showing approval. You're showing the only thing you have control over, and that is what you do. You're not trying to manipulate their behavior. You're just making sure that yours is what it should be. Will that help the relationship? To just act like nothing happened? You know, codependency is when we will enable destructive behavior, and it does not help somebody to let them have a destructive addiction and not do anything or say anything about it. It doesn't help them, and it doesn't help you. That's not what I'm talking about. Successful people give back better than they receive. You curse me, I'm going to bless you. You know, this really used to bother me, where people would be saying things about me that were just outright lies. I guess Donald Trump's not the only one that doesn't like that. And this was in church. Someone was accusing me of stealing for the company that I worked for, and they came to our church. They helped me get the job there. And these same people were saying that we were doing things that we shouldn't be doing, and it was just a matter of envy and jealousy. And I went to my pastor and said, well, they're saying things, you know, we need to do something about that. And, of course, he didn't like conflict. And so he said, you know, well, I'm not going to. I said, well, that's not fair. Oh, that fairness doctrine, it's there, isn't it? And I went and talked to another pastor, and he said, Ron, just think of it this way. If someone's talking bad about you to other people that you care about, and they come to you, but you don't talk bad about them, Ron, they kind of figure it out. But when you continue with the fairness doctrine, you both get dragged into the gutter. You see, successful people give back better than they receive. They don't go around settling scores. And as a result, they don't pull people down. They pull people up. They don't let other people pull them down. As opposed to stepping down, our opposition lifts up. I think that's a better way of opposing a person. The Bible teaches this principle repeatedly. It's really very simple, but it's very difficult to do. It reminds me of a guy that moved into a new neighborhood, and when he bought the house, people said, oh, you don't want to buy a house here. The guy next door is an absolute madman. He's run off the last 4 families that lived here. And they heard all kind of stories, and they're like, this guy can't be that bad. And well, he's going to do that. Well, if he does, I'll just kill him. And he was a Christian. So you kill him? That doesn't sound right. But he didn't go on to say, and so the guy came over and tore his garden up after he had planted it. And the guy had to redo his garden, and then when the harvest came in, he brought fruit over from the garden and put it at the doorstep. You know, he got stuck. The neighbor got stuck in the snow. He sent his kids over there to help him, and all he did was cuss the kids out, but they got him unstuck. And I mean, the guy went way out of his way to just be mean and vicious to this family. And then one day they hear a knock on the door. They open the door, and it's the guy across the street. He said, I can't stand it anymore. It's killing me that you keep treating me good when I act this way. I need to change. They led the guy to the Lord, a true story. Jesus puts it this way, but if you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners love those who love them. I can't tell you how many times I've had a problem with somebody, and I'll give them a gift, and it'll change the whole relationship. They were expecting a cursing and got a blessing, and they're like, wow, you know, this person that was talking bad about me, well, they had a hard time, and they ended up getting behind on their mortgage, and they were foreclosing on them. So when I came back to the church there and became the pastor of that church, took up an offering and helped them pay their mortgage, and they didn't lose their house. And this person that had been lying about me and everything comes to my office weeping and crying and had a towel and a bucket of water and came over to wash my feet. I'll tell you, that was a little bit humiliating, to be honest with you. But see what happens when you bless people instead of curse people? What if I had tried to get back at that person? That never would have happened. See, we're here to pull people up, not to get down in the gutter with them. And if you lend to those from whom you hoped to receive back, what credit is that to you? For even sinners lead to sinners to receive such back. But love your enemies, do good, and lend, hoping for nothing in return, and your reward will be great, and you will be the sons of the Most High, for he is kind to the unthankful and the evil. That's one thing Denise and I made up our mind. We never lend money that we're not willing to lose. And then that way it never damages the relationship. So, we don't lend a lot of money. We don't co-sign. And our kids and our grandkids know that. And that's how the in-laws don't become outlaws. Repay no one evil for evil. Have regard for good things. Jesus speaking against this fairness doctrine. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with what? Retaliation. No. Good. Successful people are like a redemptive force. They carry an infection for good everywhere that they go. They infuse relationships with health, businesses with health, ministries with health, communities with health. They change things for the better. Look at someone and tell them, let's make it better. They give back better than they're given. You see, to them, fair isn't good enough. They want better than fair. Other people don't determine their behavior. Jesus said everybody loves those that love them, does good to those who do good to them. They make relationships better regardless of whether the person deserves it or not. I'm going to treat you better because I'm better. I'm not sick anymore. Don't think that I'm saying, that you should be a doormat. Don't think that at all. It starts with, and don't think that it's easy. It starts with how you handle your anger. You have to, first of all, know that you're angry. And let me give you a little clue, guys. Sometimes just ask your wife. They know you're angry before you do? Because a lot of times they're more in touch with their feelings than you are, and you were also told as a kid it was wrong to be angry, so you don't know you're angry until the anger comes out, and you need to recognize that. You need to realize that if you're not in touch with your feelings, then you're not going to be able to do anything to solve problems. You'll blow up before you know that you're mad. When you're unaware of your anger, you can become passive-aggressive and unhelpful. Don't let your anger lead you to get back at the people that wronged you, to put them down, to hurt them, to lash out at them, to shame them, or some way try to be abusive to manipulate their behavior so that they'll change and do what it is that you want them to do. Some people don't even see that they have an anger problem, but they let it fly thinking, well, that's only fair. I mean, if they did this, everyone has a right to be angry. Well, the Bible says be angry and sin not. So we can be angry enough to resolve the problem or angry to punish the person. Listen, there's a big difference between punishment and correction. You see, punishment appeases my anger. Correction benefits the other person. Whom the Lord loves, he corrects. It didn't say punishes. He corrects. Thank God he corrects us because he cares about us like a father or son. When you start getting angry, ask yourself the question, what's helpful? How's this going to help the situation? Does it help the person or the problem for me to just ignore it? We may fear that we're going to make things worse by confronting it. Or we may fear being a doormat. Being helpful is better for both parties. So sometimes it is good to just overlook it with somebody. And other times, if they're an addict, or if they've cheated on you, or any number of things like that, it isn't going to get better leaving it alone. It's going to get worse. And that's where we have to make up our mind. I'm not just going to blow up at this person, but what can I do to make it better? Sometimes it's good to ask, too, what have I done to contribute to the problem? All right? Well, how does that make it better? Because the things you do, you can change. They can't, but you can. Ask questions like, how can I turn this around? Ask a question like, what does this person really need? If Denise is asking me if I'm okay, I used to think I was being accused of not being mad. Are you mad at me? And she'd say, well, it seems like you're mad at me. Well, I'd be looking like, what did I do? You smell under your arms, you take your breath, you're like, where in the world did that come from? I'll tell you where it came from. It came from you being quiet, because in the past when you're angry, that's what happens. You're quiet, you're seething, you're thinking, and she doesn't know what to expect. Are you going to blow up? So I began to realize, all I'm thinking about is me when I'm I wasn't angry, but now I'm getting angry because I'm being falsely accused of being angry. So it's like this self-fulfilling prophecy. Does anybody relate to this besides me? I mean, or is this just me, you know? And then I begin to realize, Ron, you're just thinking of yourself. You're not thinking, what is it she needs? She needs to know where you are. You need to let her know where you are. She's not accusing you of being angry and hiding it from her. She just doesn't know where you are. A better response to anger is to use it to let the other person know that there's a problem. Then go and solve the problem by approaching the person in love, not anger, and facing the hard issues. Really important. When we codependently enable people, we're not really thinking about them and what's best for them. Well, if I put my foot down, that means they may leave me, and I don't want to be alone. Or if I have to leave them, then, you know, how am I going to make it on my own? Who are you thinking about? You're thinking about yourself. Where if somebody has a problem with an addiction, then sometimes it takes that tough love in order for them to get better. And when they get better, it'll be better for both of you. But it's not better that just live in denial. We don't want to end up alone, so we don't confront the situation. We fear we're going to make it financially, so we don't want to be having to make it on our own. My last point this morning is that successful people exercise the joint benefits of not being fair. At times, they set limits and they impose consequences, not as a punishment to the person, but so that that person realizes there are consequences to their behavior, and those consequences are brought on by them. They're not being punished by me. They're having to face their own consequences, which is absolutely necessary if you want an affair to end, if you want an addiction to get addressed. Instead, they might respond, I love you, and I want what's best for you, and I want you to face this problem and get past it. I'll get help with you or do anything I can. In other words, they're not rejecting them because of them doing something wrong. But I won't allow this kind of hurt and destruction to continue with me. So they're conveying care for the other person, not enablement. We cannot be together until you decide to do something about it. Let me know when you make that decision, and until then, I won't be living here. That's a tough thing to do, isn't it? But you might be able to stay there and live with that addiction, but it probably killed them. Instead of continuing to fight, they might say, I love you and I want what's best for us, but I can't talk with you without getting in a fight. So let's not talk about this until there's a counselor present. If things don't improve, they might say, it seems like this pattern of behavior that we've talked about before isn't getting any better. Can you see that? How do you think I could help? Successful people get past their own need. They don't let their need for others to be mature and to be good to determine them being mature or good. Sometimes what happens in a relationship, whether it's with a parent or whether it's with a spouse, is we need them to be there for us. We need them to value us. We need them to care about us. And it's that very thing that we're trying to get from them they don't have. And sometimes you just have to get it from other places so that you have what you need and you can contribute to the relationship instead of fighting over what you need with that other person that they don't possess. They're like an empty water bottle, and you're trying to get water out of them. I think sometimes it's hard to deal in these kind of situations with really close relationships because we feel like if they don't give it to us, we can't have it. And what it really boils down to, that's what counseling and a counselor is all about. That's what going to a small group and developing relationships in the church and the community to where you're getting validation and you're getting love and you're getting nurture. And then now you can bring what you have into the relationship and contribute instead of fighting with a person that you thought had it that wouldn't give it to you. But they didn't have it. Now you can help them get it. That makes sense? See, successful people are redemptive. They're restorative. They're looking to make it better. My wife says something to me and it makes me mad. I have to ask myself, what is she telling me she needs? You're in a meeting with other people that are in your office, or you're meeting with people that are in the same business you are, and you're talking about things and they tell you things that you could do better. And it makes you mad because there's a lot of things they could do better. Well, you're not doing so good yourself at this, and you're not doing so good yourself at that. And instead of saying, well, I probably could do better at this. Would you guys help me to do better at this and maybe hold me accountable that I'll do better at this? And how can I help you in any area you need to get better in? Oh, now we're moving somewhere here. This is something that can bring a better life for all of us. See, being fair is not going to make you more than you are. It's just going to keep reminding you of where you come up short. It's going to keep reminding you of where other people come up short. I'd like you to consider today to put that doctrine to rest, to lay it aside. Because while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. He gave us what we didn't deserve. It's time for us to do the same for ourselves and for others. I'd like us to just bow our heads today. And you'd be honest and you'd say, Pastor, I've been a little mad at God because I feel like what I'm going through, it's not fair. My friend, I want you to understand something. Sometimes the bad things we go through is just God developing values in us that we are going to hate that and not want anything to do with it. Someone lied to us, we don't want anything to do with lying. Someone cheated on us, we don't want anything to do with cheating. It wasn't that God is being unfair with you. It's that you can benefit from good and bad if you'll learn to trust God. If you're here today and you say, Pastor, I've been upset with God because I felt like my life isn't fair, and I realize it's not supposed to be. And I just need to make things right with the Lord. If that's you, would you just lift up your hand? God bless you. God bless you. Many hands going up here. Maybe you're here today and you got some relationships that have been damaged by this doctrine. And you know in your heart that you need to make those right because you can. Just because you can. It's a choice. No, it doesn't have to be deserved. I say, Pastor, pray for me. I need to mend some relationships to that. Would you just lift up your hand? There's many hands today. Let's pray this prayer. Heavenly Father, as we prepare for communion, you said to examine ourselves. And Father, I've seen, I believed a lie. Life is not fair. I want better than fair. Forgive me for being mad at you, for my life not being fair. I trust you with my life, that you will bring good out of every bad thing and every good thing. And I will respond good when bad comes. When immaturity comes, I'll respond mature. And I ask your Holy Spirit to help me. Help me mend the relationships that have been damaged by my need for fairness. I lay that aside, and I pick up the truth of your word. And I say this, I'm going to give good for bad, blessing for cursing, and you're going to help me. People aren't going to pull me in the gutter. I'm going to pull them to a higher place. In Jesus' mighty name. And everyone said, amen.